Welcome to FitBody Lifestyle, the show where we dive deep into the world of fitness, health, business, relationships, and the art of living a balanced life. I'm Jami.
And I'm Greg, and we're here to give you the benefit of our experiences in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, the corporate world, running a business, personal development, and building healthy relationships.
Whether you're sweating it out in the gym, hustling in your business, or seeking balance in your everyday life, you're in the right place.
So lace up those sneakers and grab that water bottle, and let's get ready to transform our minds, our bodies, and our lives. Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of FitBody Lifestyle, but we are retitling this episode to Welcome to the Shelby Show! Right? Do it for us?
That's right.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Shelby Show.
There we go. We are very honored to have one of our favorite people on the planet here, Miss Shelby Pierce. And she is a coach, she is a wife, she is a dog mom, she is a fantastic person, and somebody that we definitely call family for sure. IFBB Pro, IFBB Bikini Pro, and Olympian, and I would dare say one of the best coaches in the industry, absolutely, in the entire industry. And Shelby, before we get to you talking about yourself, let's do a check-in word first and ask you, give us that check-in word for how you're feeling, what you want to do for this conversation, anything that's on top of your mind.
I'm excited.
All right, excited is a great one. Let's take that enthusiasm to the Shelby Show. Now there's some laughter. Okay, I'm gonna take the laughter because I was not getting a lot of it yesterday. Hey, so let's start with a little bit about you. So give us just a little thumbnail sketch of Shelby Pierce.
Yeah. Okay. So I started with FitBody Fusion, Jami. It was in the end of 2016. It was after my first season of competing. And then, of course, we did our first season together. I started coaching for FitBody Fusion the end of 2017. Prior to that, I kind of make jokes and I'm like, fitness is all I know because I've literally always been in the fitness industry. I started, working at a gym when I was 16 years old, and I was just really intrigued by health and fitness. I mean, when I was finally, legally old enough, I started teaching classes, personal training, and then I even went and opened a gym with my husband. We did that for about 4 or 5 years, and, it was great. It was something I really loved, but it was when I was backstage at North Americans, and I remember, seeing Jami. She had me on point. She had all these other ladies on point, and it was kind of like a light bulb. I was like, wow, this is actually what I want to do. Like, I want to coach bikini athletes. It was such a huge passion of mine personally. And the rest was kind of history from there. So I ended up full-time coaching for FitBody Fusion since then.
And you've had tremendous success with your clients. And I want to talk so much about your coaching and philosophies and things like that. But I do want to back up because you talked about your first year competing and, talk a little bit about what your experience was like, prior to coming over and just kind of some of the things you experienced and how that's influenced who you are today as a coach.
Mm-hmm. So it was definitely different as far as the methods. And the biggest thing was, the extreme low calorie. I had to do a ton of cardio. And I remember really enjoying the whole thought of getting on stage. And I enjoyed being on stage. But I had to think back about, I don't want to do this again, though. Like the things I did do as far as the intense amount of cardio. And, I had to sit in the sauna, I remember, for literally over 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It was every day, and it was just really draining, and it just took everything out of me. So, I almost was okay, I want this, but it's not for me. And then that's when I was introduced to Jami and going through those processes, seeing that there is actually a different way and a healthier way, because that is really important to me. I was very blessed and grateful that there was another way, and that's just kind of carried into the coaching side of things. Making sure I keep people in a healthy place. It's about sustainability and just longevity in the sport to be able to continue. So
I think it's a huge advantage to go through, a prep that it was more extreme. I think it's an advantage for you kind of to then be able to explain to people when you have them come to you, maybe coming from a situation that was more extreme and all of that. Do you feel like that's helped you in that way?
Yeah, I think a lot. You only know what you know. So then when people come to you and they're just telling you things they've done, it's not that you want to make them feel bad about it, but it's more just, hey, there's another way, and just might take a little time. Let's kind of rebuild from where you're at now. And, so.
Awesome.
What about, let's go back in something in your background in terms of going to the Olympia, okay? And the show that you won was the Tahoe show, I believe?
Yes.
And okay. And talk about the pursuit of that win and then how it felt for you.
You jumped way ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll back up, babe. Go ahead. Where else you want to go?
Well, I wanted to first, we can talk about that
That's
too,
okay.
but I just kind of wanted to go through the progression of, we talked about the prep for the first show. You got your pro card at the North Americans, which was your first national show, correct?
First national show, yeah.
Yeah, which was very exciting. We did a pro debut and you
Top
placed
4.
top 4, which was really cool. And then I kind of just wanted to go into what happened then.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about like what we ended up learning at that
Yeah,
point.
just a little bit of things happened in between there. So, I was definitely on a roll. You would say I'm like, felt like I was on top of the world. I was so excited. I was doing extremely well, of course. And then, these are all things I kept to myself and didn't tell Jami about, but progressively, after the pro card win, pro debut, I just had these things coming up, started feeling sick, strange symptoms. Anyways, I made my pro debut, and then I was supposed to do another show in Sacramento, and I ended up letting Jami know, like, hey, like, something's wrong, I'm sick, I need to go to the doctor, and literally took 5 minutes in the doctor's office. They told me, yeah, you have severe Crohn's disease. So
that was
it was a big deal. Yeah, no, it
Life
definitely,
changer.
yeah, everything literally stopped. And it wasn't by choice. It progressively it got out of control, to be honest, to say it quite literally. And, it was really difficult for me because it wasn't a matter of, oh, I don't feel good, I can't go to the gym today. Like, literally, I was like done. I think it was probably 6 to 8 months about trying to figure out just how to get it under control. I was pretty resistant to getting on medication. I really wanted to just try to do it as naturally as possible. And, it got to a point where it wasn't a choice anymore, so.
I don't ever like to assume that everybody knows what Crohn's disease
Yeah.
is. So maybe you could give us a little bit of, just from your experience and how would you define it, I guess?
Yeah, it's an autoimmune disease. For me, it's in my large intestine. So it's basically my body was thinking it was not supposed to be there. So it's trying to destroy it, attack it, kill it, get it out. So.
And you've controlled that through medication or surgeries or all of the above?
Yeah, I've had about 2 surgeries. I still have all of my everything, but there was definitely some further complications because I waited so long. And then I was able to get into remission, thank God. Medication, yeah.
That's awesome. That's a lot to overcome, Shelby. Yeah. That's a lot to overcome. And I know, I guess, and I like to be candid in these things. And I know we talked previously that you don't want this to be about, oh, woe is me, or this is my problem. And we'll stay on the other side of that. And I respect that in a great way. But I would like you to maybe just talk about how do you go back to stage after that? Because you went back to stage after that.
Yeah. And I think the big thing, too, to say is not that I don't want to talk about it. I just definitely don't want it to be a, yeah, exactly, the poor me thing. And I also feel like there's other people out there that aren't as lucky as me just because it's so ongoing and they can't get it under control. They've had further surgeries, so even though it was really difficult for that time for me, I still consider myself lucky, and yeah, going back to the gym I think it was 6 months later, literally. And I remember thinking, like, I'll never take this for granted again. Like, I get to do this. I'm so lucky. It's not I have to. And it was pretty much when I decided to go back to competing and do it again. I was definitely told and advised not to. But it made me want to do it even more. Right? It really did. I was like, I feel like I can still do this and keep myself in a healthy place. I'm not broken, like, I'm going to do this. And it took me at least a year to rebuild. I lost everything. I mean, I came back my first season and it wasn't great. I didn't place, but I was just like, hey, I got to get back on stage, and then from there I was able to keep climbing and building back up. And I just maintained kind of on, my labs and made sure I stayed healthy the whole time. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to do it, really.
What you said literally gave me chills all over my body when you said like getting back in the gym and that feeling of like, I get to do this. Cause I think so frequently it's easy to take for granted so many of the things that we do in life and be like, oh, it's another chore. And to have that perspective shift is pretty amazing, and just like that really hit me. You saying that, it's like not everybody gets to do that or can move or feel good enough to be able to train and things like that. So that's super impactful.
Yeah.
Did that mindset come about because that's just how you're wired, or was there something that influenced you to get to that mindset, or just, how did you get there?
I like to think I'm pretty disciplined before it all, but yeah, no, during the time it was so dark and down for me. So just being back in there, it literally was, a lot of it was that, and just proving to myself that I'm going to be able to do it again and overcome it. And I think it's kind of funny with clients when they're like, I'm feeling lazy or I don't want to go. I'm like, are you well and breathing and able? Like, get your ass up and go to the gym. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's go. Like, we get to do this kind of thing,
I do think the polarity of this, and we talk about this we've talked about this a little bit before, but the importance of polarity in life, like a victory is not really a victory unless there's the prospect of defeat on the other side. It makes you appreciate the victory when it comes because you've suffered all those defeats or that defeat. And I think what you're tapping into is that mindset of, look, I've seen what it's like at the bottom of the hole, and now that I'm not at the bottom of the hole, I just really appreciate not being there. That polarity of just the, it's hard to appreciate. Like, there's no light. There cannot be light without darkness. There cannot be victory without defeat. There cannot be happiness without some sadness. It's just that polarity that kind of helps guide. It sounds like that's what helped guided you.
Absolutely. And it just makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Just realizing there is a way. It may look different for different, people and may take you longer or whatever the case is, but you can definitely overcome it and find a way.
One of the things I saw you do during that time is really focus in on your coaching. So when you weren't able to do the things that you wanted to do for your own training and your own prepping and everything, like that shift in mindset over to coaching, and something you said just kind of sparked in my head, just the memory of, when you first started coaching and what an incredible client you were for me because of your discipline and because of your dedication and your passion for everything that you do. And then you becoming a coach and then realizing how great you were because, everybody's kind of got different perspectives they bring in, and like that level of dedication you got to see like on the other side of it as a coach, like how much that means to have an athlete that's that dedicated. So, so talk a little bit about like that time where, you kind of shifted into focusing a little bit more of coaching and, before you kind of were able to get back to, and you're not that you ever stopped focusing on coaching, obviously.
Right. No, I think, you can look at things like a blessing in disguise. Maybe at the time I wasn't thinking like that, but really it allowed me to kind of take a step back and be able to focus on coaching and really start as a coach, and I think a lot of it is being able to, be relatable to people and just understand, where they're coming from. I am very direct as a coach, but I'm also very kind and understanding. Like, I can work with you on whatever it is going on. And, I think it was the first year, like everything happened really fast for the coaching, and it kind of filled that void a little bit of where, maybe I wasn't able to compete myself, but it made me also realize like, wow, I really love coaching though. This is what I want and need, really. So
yeah, and you're so amazing at it. I know that you and I have coached side by side so many times, and I always kind of chuckle because we'll be at a show and we'll have the athletes posing in front of us, and I'll see a little something, and I'm like, I'm gonna let them get away with it. And Shelby's like, nope, you need to fix this. And I love that though. I feel like you and I have worked really well together in that, and your attention to detail is just like next level. I love it so much, and I think for those athletes that really want to go far, that's what they're looking for, is that coach that's not going to let them slide on things, but to like really, pay attention to every little detail. So I admire that a lot.
Yeah. I think it's also helped me learn a lot too, just the little things. And there's a coach for everybody, right? But I also just think that a lot of people, that's what they also look for, someone that's very attention to detail. And
yeah.
It's
I think every athlete wants somebody who has that attention to detail in some way, shape, or form. The question is how is it delivered?
Right.
And so, delivering the detail to people, some people can take the direct approach, and some people need it to be delivered a little bit oblique, or
Gently,
a little gentler. Yeah. And I do think, having witnessed both of you work together at shows, you guys do present that excellent balance in terms of the approach, because it's a different approach, and rightly so, right? We shouldn't all be the same approach, but watching you two at shows really inspires me, because, and I think the biggest thing that inspires me about the two of you, and this is what I'd like you to comment on, is how do you work such in sync together? And maybe it's a question for both of you, really, is you guys just work in sync without really talking. It's almost like you have a shared consciousness or something in terms of the approach. So when to give, when to take. It's that dynamic. And I don't know how you guys get there.
I mean, I did learn from the best. So, but that's what I mean. Like when I saw Jami, when I started coaching, I wanted to replicate all of those things that, she was able to provide and what I was receiving as an athlete. I knew what I wasn't getting in the previous experience with the previous coach. And just, I think that FitBody Fusion as a whole, we all share that same, that's what we want to provide and deliver to all of our athletes.
Well, and I feel like you and I have grown together, which has been very, very cool. I was still newer as a coach. I mean, I had, a couple pros and, that kind of thing. And when you and I started, I was still newer. I was still learning, and getting to learn with somebody who is so dedicated like you are. And you would ask me questions that would challenge me, which made me learn and grow. So I feel like we kind of developed together. And so it's cool to watch, all of your success, your clients' success. It's just been really amazing. I know I kind of took away from where Greg was going with the Olympia qualification, and I definitely want to jump back into that. But I didn't want to skip over the kind of that period in between, because I do think it's so significant. And your growth as a person, as a coach, as an athlete, all the things that you've become today, I feel like it's been that evolution and everything that's happened during that time. And
actually, before we go to the Olympia thing, because you just reminded me of something that I think is really, and I've said this to you, Shelby, so this is not going to be a huge surprise, but and I've said this about you to other people. And maybe you've heard it, maybe you have not. But the thing that really separated you from everyone else in terms of your coaching is your willingness to ask questions. And I remember when we first started this relationship with you as a coach, you would call Jami up, and I mean, it was almost, I don't know if it was daily, but it was very frequent. Mm-hmm. And I know that you usually couched all of those calls with, I don't want to bother you, and please, I don't want to be a bother. Almost all of those started out with that same thing. I don't want to be a bother, but you were still willing to ask the question. And that, I think, above all else, is what really made you such a star coach, because you were willing to ask the questions. And whenever I'm talking with a new coach from us or any place, I give them that example of, there's a reason why Shelby is so successful, and that reason is because she was willing to ask everything. And it didn't matter whether she asked it once or 101 times. It didn't matter. You were just willing to ask because, and I think part of it was your curiosity, but what else? I mean, what drove that approach from you?
No, I definitely wanted to just understand more. I mean, like I said, I came from being a personal trainer. Okay, well, textbook only gets you so far, right? And just applying it to different athletes and different people, everyone is so different. There is not one way. So no, and to this day, I still love to learn. I'm not afraid to still ask questions. I'm not afraid to, receive information and go with it however I please. But, a lot of it was, building up the confidence for me was also being able to share ideas and bounce ideas off of her and say, hey, this is what I think. Do you think the same thing? And if it was a yes or a no, if it was a no, it was actually really more than helpful, because I was like, oh, I understand. I'm learning something, So I do just want to be my best self that I can, the best coach I can. So.
Well, and I think that philosophy's infused itself into our culture, and now you're actually mentoring some coaches too. And then, of course, we've developed, ways that people can collaborate. We have our office hours, our coaches, our educational calls, and things like that. And I do think, like I said, you were early on. You've been with us for a really long time, and so it's been a huge part of the development of our culture, which is sharing information, us all asking questions of each other, getting different perspectives. We have different eyes, and I value your eyes so much. So if we're, looking at an athlete and you're seeing something, sometimes you'll correct something and I'm like, okay, I hadn't thought about that. That's even better. So I do think that that's something that I'd love to see continue to develop more in our industry wide. It's like there's no such, like, we don't need to hoard information. It's okay to share the information, and we all get to grow together. We all just become that much better.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to know everything, and I'm definitely, to this day, I still believe that. So,
yeah.
Well, it's adopting that coach of coaches mindset and recognizing that we all can learn from these things, and everybody has a mentor. I mean, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, they all have coaches that they rely on to bounce those ideas off of, and just thinking that you don't have to do this alone. I mean, that's just, I've never really understood that kind of thinking, but I think that knowing that you have a coach doesn't diminish your coaching. In fact, I think it makes you a stronger coach because it gives you differing perspectives than just having your own perspective.
No, there's been situations too where I'll be, stressing about a situation. I'm in peak week with someone and I'm like, man, and I'll just be casually talking to Jami. Jami's like, well, have you ever considered this? Or someone else, have you ever thought about this? I'm like, oh, wow, no, I can try that. Let's do this. We're in a situation right now. So it's been helpful. Absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, so then let's get into we teased a little bit earlier that actually worked out well. So let's talk about the Olympia and the pro show win. Let's start there. Let's start with the pro show win. Talk about the Tahoe
or
show.
even the lead up to it. Like what was the lead up like to that win?
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So
it was a hard prep.
It was a hard one. There was a lot of ups and downs, just like everything. But I think there was a couple downs leading into it. And a lot of it for me was, not placing how I wanted to, right? Not placing high enough. And just feeling that sense of discouragement. Like, okay, I started playing the mind game, like maybe this is never going to happen type of thing. So going into Tahoe, for example, kept showing up, did Tahoe. Pre-judging was over. I was somewhere on the outside. I don't even know where, but wasn't in the middle, right? So I was like, okay. I go to Jami's room, and it's definitely a funny story. So
we've named this. What do you name it now?
The Shelby syndrome.
Yeah. So
to go on the Shelby Show.
No. So I was really down, and it just felt like, I don't even know how many shows it's been. I think this is my 7th show that season. It could have been more. I don't know. And I just remember just kind of unloading, like, this is it. This is done. I'm done. I'm canceling the next one. It's not going to happen for me. And I just let it kind of defeat me in that moment. And Jami was like, okay, well, hey, you still have finals. It's not over yet. Let's get through this show first, and then we'll talk about this kind of thing. And I go back to finals, and I remember being able to say, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to literally give it everything I got. I'm here. I'm going to finish strong. That's just how I do it. And I won the show that night.
Damn right.
So
damn right you did.
That was a great night.
That was a great night. And I will tell you, I think back to some of those moments where we've been the most proud, and that was really one of those moments that you gifted us by allowing us to share that with you.
But I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that, because I think we all get in our own heads, like every single person. Like, for somebody to say they're confident 100% of the time, I find that very hard to believe. So, with all the success that you've had, to be able to talk about, having that moment of self-doubt, and then pulling it together and going out and being the best you ever have been, to me, that's just huge. And I'm sure that from a coaching standpoint, you encounter this frequently. And, how do you coach people through when they hit those walls and they start to doubt themselves?
Right. I think it's just you have to be able to remind them, hey, why'd you start this in the first place? This is you versus you. Even if it isn't your show, for example, that day, well, there's going to be the next one. You're going to get better, so just reminding yourself that you have to also believe in yourself too. It will eventually happen. Your time will come, and just kind of that positive reinforcement.
Can we peel that back just a little bit? Because you sparked something that I've been talking about a little bit lately internally in my head, is getting to that point of believing in yourself. how do you do that? How do you do that, Shelby? I mean, because it's easy to say. Clearly, well, I don't know if it's clear, but hopefully it was clear that Jami and I believed in you without question. But at the end of the day, we can't believe in. It's like what we always say, right? We can't want it more than our athletes want it. To get on stage. So we can't believe in you more than you believe in you, and get to that point where your behaviors are then going to reflect your belief in yourself. So how did you, Shelby, get to that point of believing in yourself? Is that one of those tough questions that you wish I hadn't asked you?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it's just more continuing to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
So maybe in that moment you're feeling that lack of confidence and you're not sure it's ever going to happen. But, for me, I pretty much, I think in certain moments I'm like, you know what, like I'm here, I'm still going to finish what I started. And eventually I do believe I'll get to that place. But, it's showing up for yourself in a sense, I think has a lot to do with believing in yourself too. And just not giving up, really.
I love that, because I do think, it ties with something we talk about, which is what's more important, motivation or discipline. It's like, well, they're both important. But there will be times when the motivation is going to go away. Right. And what kicks in there is what you have in droves, which is discipline. And so you kind of went where I thought you were going to go, which is your discipline drove you to that self-belief. It's that discipline, and I'm going to keep showing up for myself. And then at some point I will get to that level where I believe in myself, even if I don't have that today.
Yeah. You can't beat the person that doesn't give up.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go from the Tahoe win. And I'm curious, and this will probably be a stupid question. I'm good at stupid questions, but was the focus more on winning a show, and I know that winning a show gets you to the Olympia, but I'm curious, what was more important? Was it the win of the show, or was it getting to the Olympia, or both?
I feel like I was very focused on just really wanting to make it to the Olympia, more to say like, that was my journey. Like I was able to complete it fully, because that was always my initial goal, so the win was really amazing. I think obviously they kind of go hand in hand though,
they do,
but yeah, being able to actually step on the Olympia stage, it was really that moment of satisfaction no matter how I placed, and I already felt that and told myself that before even going to Olympia.
And the reason I asked the question that way is because I think some athletes get focused on the goal of the Olympia, and they miss the process of getting there, and you can't get there unless you win that pro show. So focusing on win that pro show. It's like, sports teams in the playoffs, it's a one-game season at that point when you're in the playoffs. Is I got to just win this game. I'm not worried about getting to the Super Bowl, for example. We got to, because I'm never going to get to the Super Bowl if I don't win this game. And I felt like that was the mindset that you employed at Tahoe, is you were the Olympia wasn't really part of it at that point. It was, I'm going to just focus on doing my best for this show.
Right. No, I agree. Absolutely. I mean, it's more, there's levels to this.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was just my next level. So being able to get that win. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think I always find it interesting when I have somebody come to me who's never stepped on stage. They're starting their fitness journey and they're like, what do I need to do to get to the Olympia? And I'm like, whoa,
quite a few things.
Let's rewind. Let's rewind a bit. Let's kind of, let's find out if you even like this first, So I do think it's really important to embrace every step of the way. And it was just kind of interesting watching your journey and, the different things that were thrown at you throughout that you had to get overcome, and then to be able to then go to that next, phase of the journey. So, being able to then see it all the way through to the Olympia stage, I think was really exciting and definitely, I think closed the loop for you, at least at that point, right?
I'd say, yeah, fully satisfied.
Fill the cup.
Yeah, filled it up all the way.
Speaking of what Jami just described, I'm sure you get consults and athletes who say, I want to get to the Olympia. How do you handle it as a coach?
Yeah, no, I'm direct, right? So what I do is I just I see where they are currently, and I'm like, okay, we're going to focus on the shorter goals first, because like I said, there's levels to this, right? So I kind of just assess where they are and just say, okay, this is the first thing we're going to focus on. Is it probably getting a pro card first, right? Or maybe even doing a couple shows first and getting nationally qualified. So just kind of understanding where they are and just saying, this is the next thing we need to focus on first. Because another thing too is I actually did this, I think because I did do so well when I first started competing, I set an expectation like every time it's going to be like this.
Yeah.
So when I came back and did my first couple of shows and they did not go well at all as far as a placing goes, it almost robbed me of that joy. So I do think that I'm able to kind of tell people to like, hey, like enjoy this process and just remember like it's you versus you. Like you have to kind of climb your way up. So definitely that's something that I place a big importance on.
I like that you brought that up because I do think that sometimes when people have a lot of success very early on, that sometimes it can be a little bit more painful when they do kind of hit that first, situation where things don't go as well. So it's kind of interesting. We see kind of both sides of it, but I'm glad that you brought that up because I do think that can be challenging. And I'm sure people will want to know like what's next for you. So where are you at with that right now?
Well, it's a forever life season. So yeah, I don't have any intentions of competing again. Really the big reason today. I mean, hey, the cool thing is the stage is always there.
That's right.
Right. But really, truly 100%, I'm just very fulfilled, absolutely focused on coaching. So.
Yeah. And kind of where I wanted to segue in with this is I do have so many people that reach out to me and they're concerned about working with a coach that is still competing. So I know, so I was wanting your perspective because you have been a coach while competing and now you're a coach while focusing solely on coaching. And I'm just curious to know, the difference in the two and I don't know, just kind of your thoughts about how is that different for you?
Yeah. So I did have a lot of like positive experiences. Of course, people are excited, when I'm competing, like they're excited seeing me compete and they're like, oh, we're looking up to you and, seeing what you do. We're motivated by you. And then they're on the flip side, it was also, I've had situations where I've turned girls pro and they're kind of like, I'm going to have another coach because I don't want to compete against my coach. And this feels like, almost like short end of the stick for them for some reason, which is not everybody, but I have gotten some of that feedback before. So, and now that I'm not coaching or I'm not competing, I definitely have had a lot of people like, we want to work with you now, like they feel they're going to get all the attention, which I was always really good about giving attention no matter what. I mean, I had girls competing at the same show that I was competing at. But what was interesting was I was like, I don't care about my show. I just want to be taking care of my athletes, So now that I'm not, I think it's definitely opened up nothing but positives.
Yeah. And I do know that that's one of the things because I got to observe and I know you always put your clients first, even when you're competing. And I know some people have had negative experiences with a coach that was competing that didn't do that. So I did watch you get to do that. And that's why I think it's an interesting topic for us to talk about because not everybody can juggle both. And you did a great job of juggling both. But I also, obviously for me being on the other side of it too, like it is really nice to be able to just throw yourself 100% into the coaching side of things. So I know there is that perception. And of course, I've said that with me too, is like, I don't want to compete against my athletes, but again, like I think that there are those coaches that do a wonderful job of doing both.
Yeah.
And I would say, I don't think you juggled both. I think you prioritized what was your priority, which was coaching, and then competing was secondary to that. And it wasn't that it slighted the competing or anything. No. It wasn't like you didn't give everything to competing, but it was like when there was and Shelby, I'm not talking from what I think. I'm talking from what I know because I saw
observed.
You. Right, what I observed you doing. And you're just one of those gifted coaches who put your athletes first when you were competing. And it was honestly amazing to watch, inspiring.
Well, the thing is, too, is I can do more now. I can coach more athletes now.
Right.
I can take on more, and there would be situations where Jami would be like, well, hey, there's a show this weekend. It's a good opportunity. You should do it. I'm like, yeah, but it's nationals. I'm going to nationals, so
so you had to sometimes make a choice.
Yeah. So the great thing now is I can do more and focus more on taking on more people, which ultimately is what I wanted. So
well, and let's not bury the lead with this. I mean, you are an Olympian coach. You're not just an Olympian. You coach Olympians. And I'm curious if you can compare and contrast your experience being on the Olympia stage as an athlete versus coaching athletes that then take that stage.
Like how I feel, it's way more stressful with my athlete on stage. That's the big difference. No, it's such a bigger reward, actually. It's really interesting. Like, I feel more rewarded seeing the athlete get on the Olympia stage, or just had an athlete, qualify for the Olympia. Like, it brings me so much more. So that's been kind of interesting to feel, for sure.
Go back to that. Oh, I'm sorry. Just go back to the first response, though, that it's more stressful. Why is it more stressful?
Oh my God.
To have an athlete that you're coaching on stage?
It's on me. You just want the best for them. You want the best experience for them, and placing aside all of that. You just want it to be the absolute best and have them showing up their best and perfect. So it just creates that deep level of stress.
And accountability.
Absolutely.
And I can so relate to this with you. And I know I tell my athletes this sometimes. It was funny because I was talking to one of the athletes this past show, and I said, I really put a lot of pressure and hold myself to a high standard that I come through for you. Like, that's the most important thing to me, is I come through for you, the athlete. Like, I mean, it's like, your family members on stage, or your best friends on stage, or, it's like you want it so bad for them. And I know that you can totally relate to that. And I just had to bring up that, weekend before last, we both had someone qualify for the Olympia on the same day. So we're going to do a little fist bump here.
There we go. No, it's always funny. Like, you'll be at prejudging, and it's like, we haven't eaten, sleep, nothing. And we're just like, oh my God, until it's finally over. We're like, okay, but yeah.
Yeah. Then we're thirsty, tired, hungry.
Right. So it's tough. The hardest job for sure out of the two.
What was it? So let's go back to the other experiences being on stage at the Olympia. What was that like a dream fulfilled, a full cup? Was it what you wanted it to be? I mean, I know it wasn't the placing that you wanted, but from the experience point of view, just walking onto that stage, how was that for you?
Oh, it was the most incredible feeling. Absolutely. And it actually felt like everything I had been through my whole entire journey, it all just kind of like came together, and I really was just so grateful, period, no matter what happened.
Knowing what you had overcome to get there, I mean, it was really impressive. And unfortunately, they don't give degree of difficulty points at the Olympia for the things that you have to overcome to get on that stage. But I would think that you may have won that Olympia based on what you had to overcome.
Yeah. Well, I think we all work really hard no matter what and overcome different things, So yeah, absolutely. It was more just everything kind of coming together for me. And my whole family was there, so it was really cool, and yeah, great experience. Absolutely.
That is one thing I do remember, is your mom showing up at all of your shows.
Oh yeah.
And how special.
We love your mom.
Yeah, your mom's amazing.
She's the best.
Shout out to Mom.
Very supportive. Except Mom.
Your whole family is really incredible and so supportive.
Oh my gosh, they were so funny too. Like, are you sure you want to do this again? Like, you've been through it. I'm like, let's go. We're going.
When Shelby sets her mind to something, man, watch out.
Yep.
They know better than to try to change your mind.
No, I'm lucky. They're very supportive. So.
Yeah.
So
and your hubby.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was going to ask, so Shelby, maybe we're kind of winding this up a little bit, but I would like you to talk about if you were to describe yourself as, I know you described yourself as direct, but talk about your coaching style in terms of how you deliver the best services to your clients.
So I definitely just want to make sure that I understand the athlete when I first start working with them. I meet them where they are, and then we kind of build on that. I want it to be, definitely something where it's sustainable for them, something they can keep up with, keep them healthy, of course. Again, we talked about my personality. And then at the end of the day, just making sure that they understand, the support and how much I believe in them, and also them seeing it for themselves. So
that's awesome.
Obviously for results and things like that as well. So that's where the directness comes in. But, first it has to be something where they actually can enjoy and see themselves living it every day.
Yeah.
So that's what's important to me.
So create the vision for them so that they can hold on to that. That's awesome.
Well, before we, and I know we're close to wrapping it up, but before we do, I think that one of the other nice things for your athletes, especially now, is to get to see you continuing to live this lifestyle even outside of the competition. So I think that that's such a huge piece to the puzzle. And I know we're going to talk about this later in another episode, But, you know,
Ooh, teasing the other episode.
yeah, look at that. You know, but what is it like for you now in terms of your fitness goals? Like, you know, kind of where are you at with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's still a huge part of my life. You know, I'm still going to the gym 5 days a week, eating clean, eating healthy. It just looks a little different. You know, I'm not doing it for a deadline. It's literally to be just for me, the best version of myself, my health.
I think that's really cool because people need to know, like, whether we're competing or not, these skills that we're learning while we're doing this. And I think this is one of the huge benefits of working with a coach and with competing is learning these life skills to be able to then carry into, you know, our food choices, you know, our choices for activity, you know, the influence we have on those people that we care around, you know, that we're setting an example for. And so it's really cool to get to see, you know, you doing that with me now. Because I've been, you know, doing that for a while since I've been out of the competition world, is just, you know, continuing to value the lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, like, that's really what we're here for, more so than, you know, obviously we love the competitions and things like that, but making a difference in people's lives and health.
Right. It's not just for the stage. So,
yeah.
Well, you said it, and it's in our mission, right? Sustainable lifestyle. And I always think about sustainable lifestyle as the emphasis on the first 4 letters, life. You've got to be able to live your life in order to have that lifestyle, and they're not coextensive. The more you can live your life within your lifestyle, the better you're going to be. And we've seen that with you in a big way.
So we're so honored to have you on The Shelby Show.
Shelby Show.
Thank you for coming.
What's your checkout word?
Grateful.
Grateful.
Absolutely.
I love that. Excited and grateful. 2 great words. Yeah. And Shelby, tell everybody how they would contact you.
Well, our website, you can contact there. Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well.
What's your Instagram handle?
Shelby Pierce IFBB. You made me think about that.
And by our website, she means FitBody Fusion.
Fusion.
You can go in and fill in a consultation form if you're interested in talking to Shelby and getting to know a little bit more about coaching.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we share your checkout word in terms of being grateful for you.
Very much.
You are just, I cannot say it enough how special you are to us. And you are chosen family, big time.
Oh, so, I love you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in or dialing in or clicking in or whatever. I don't know how this tech stuff works, but remember the 3 B's: be good to yourself,
be good to each other,
and be safe. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to FitBody Lifestyle. We hope today's episode has left you feeling motivated and equipped to tackle your fitness goals, business challenges, and the daily dance of life. Remember to value progress over perfection. Life's tough enough alone. Find the chosen family around you to help you along the way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FitBody Fusion.